Hello, everyone, and welcome to She Plays the podcast. I'm super excited to be joined today by Kelly Reeves, who is a professional beach volleyball player, plays on the AVP Tour, has a lot in her history that I can't wait to dive into. So thanks so much, Kelly, for joining the podcast today.
I'm happy to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah, so I'd love for folks to hear, if they don't know, like what the AVP Tour is. I know you guys actually did have somewhat of a season this year, and just kind of, what that experience was like in a COVID year.
Yeah, so the AVP, it's our domestic tour for beach volleyball. Obviously, granted, the times that we're living in, there's been a lot of hoops to navigate through, but we were very fortunate and grateful that Donald Sun, who's the owner of AVP, and everyone on staff, they put together like a little mini series. So we jam-packed 3 tournaments in the month of July, but it was only like a select few athletes that were allowed to get in. I mean, granted, we'd love to have everyone be involved, but it was just given the times, like we had to do small numbers, follow protocol. So they did a really good job of dealing with that. And we were very fortunate to have something out there. And when it was on Amazon Prime, so all the matches, if you didn't get to watch it, like they are still up on Amazon Prime, you can watch. But yeah, it was kind of a gnarly field. So the format, it was top 16, like the 16 main draw, but 12 were automatically in. And then they would take 4 from the qualifier. So I was in the qualifier and it was gnarly all 3 weekends. I didn't qualify in, but just to have the opportunity to play for 3 weekends, it was great. I was kind of sad it came and went so fast, but I was very, I think the word grateful out of any of the athletes that you talk to, like that was kind of the key word, because we got to play, and that's huge for us.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I feel like, because I'm sure beaches were shut down for so long. I mean, I don't know. And like any places indoor that you do practice and play, like what was it like to finally get to be out there and like around competitors and to just be back on it's not a field. What do you call a volleyball?
The court, the beach.
Ah,
Yeah. Well, we play, like I joke around, like I'll call them, like we play in like litter boxes. Like we bring in sand and like we play in like little, like, little cat boxes. It's great. But it was, when AVP announced that there was a schedule happening, it was like the adrenaline was so high, I would say, amongst everyone. I would say the first weekend, you could just tell everyone was so amped, so excited to just like compete, play. And it was so like, I would say emotions were like, definitely, they ran high. I mean, all weekends it was pretty much like that. It was just such a high emotional roller coaster for those 3 weeks. And then after, it was like kind of like, oh, it was like kind of a letdown, because it's like, oh, we kind of got like a taste of like, this could be our season, but then it was like over with. But like I said, we were just very grateful to play. And then I think we only found out like a month before. So they gave us like 4 weeks to prepare pretty much, because previously with the corona, we had to like cancel our whole season, which is stretched over the whole month. So they gave us like almost 3.5 weeks, like, hey, we're having this tournament, like go train.
wow.
So it was pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was a trip.
And what is a normal pro season like on a Summer Olympics year? Just curious.
So for the Summer Olympics, so AVP has nothing to do with qualifying for the Olympics. So we have a completely other tour, which is called the FIVB.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our international circuit. So in a given year, you could play up, if you're playing both AVP and FIVB. I don't know what the exact number is, but you could get up to almost like 20 tournaments in a calendar year. But I would say the main tournaments, or the stretch, I would say, is like from June to August. So it's like the summer months.
Gotcha.
So that's like with AVP and FIVB, like in a normal world or in a normal season, AVP has 8, and that starts May and it goes till September.
Mm-hmm.
And then FIVB starts as early as February, and it can go late as, I think, maybe the first weekend of November or the end of October. So kind of tricky, but yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah. Well, and I know that's always one of my favorite events to watch in the Summer Olympics. I just love volleyball. it's so amazing to me that two of you can do everything.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
It was funny because like just before this, we had a group down, we were training a little bit, and it was just like, man, you kind of take for granted, like this sport's like pretty hard, like what we have to do, covering the ground, like jumping and hitting. Just I think everything in the sand just escalates everything versus like playing an indoor. But they're both different for different reasons, and I like them both. But yeah,
Right.
so
And
it's pretty
yeah,
fun.
so I'm glad you brought that up because you have played both. You actually won a national
Hmm.
championship for indoor volleyball. So I'd love to,
Yeah.
yeah, hear back about the UCLA days. And I think your whole family has been involved in volleyball. Is that right?
Yeah, so I'll give you a little backstory of like my family. So my mom she went to UCLA, she played there and coached there. And then I have an older brother and a younger brother, and we all went to UCLA. My dad went to Oregon, so like Pac-12, but we still root for Oregon. But we're definitely a Bruin dominated family, and volleyball. We all played volleyball, three of us, my brothers and I. But yeah, played at UCLA, super fun for 4 years. I played 1 year of beach, but indoor, it's funny because like, do I miss it? I think I miss it a little bit, but I don't think I would want to play it like right now.
Mm.
It's a lot on my knees, it hurts, but I think I enjoyed every moment. And when I was playing indoor, I loved all my teammates. I was on some pretty good teams, and I really like the team dynamic that indoor brings. It's not just like the 6 players on the court, but it's like everyone that makes up of it. Like, it's even the staff, the director of ops, the trainers, like people that your boosters or whatnot. Like I love being a part of that culture. Um, and for me, I wasn't, the OH1 or the dominant right side. Like I played many positions all throughout my 4 years at UCLA. So I was kind of the utility, the glue player, as I say that I was. So we were very fortunate to win in 2011. So that was awesome. It was sick. It's so hard to do. But yeah, we rocked it that year. It was super fun.
And who did you beat in the final?
We beat the Fighting Illini, Illinois. We beat them in 4. Yeah,
Okay.
it was a it was a good weekend. I would say the weekend before, like getting to the Final Four was like more stressful than the Final Four.
Really?
Because we crossed with Penn State, who was like the 4-time national like defending champs. They were whatever, they were winning 4 years in a row. So we beat them in 3. And then the next night we had to play Texas, who was like a powerhouse team. And we somehow squeaked a win, beat them in 4. And then we played Florida State in the semis, and then played Illinois in the final, and we won.
There you go. That's
It was
awesome.
just, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big deal. I got into volleyball as a spectator when after I was out of college and I was mentoring some high school kids and they played on the team, and it is like indoor and outdoor too, but like indoor it was just like so intense. I mean, I don't know that I've
Yeah.
ever been a spectator and been that amped up for like a match point or like, oh my gosh, you're serving, I can't watch. It's like all I
Right.
see right now kind of thing. That's amazing.
Yeah, I think like because I do some coaching on the side, and I love to watch volleyball regardless, and I think it is stressful, like being a spectator and a fan. Like it's more stressful, I think, watching than playing, because when you're out there, you're really in the moment. You're kind of just like, it's heat of the moment. You're super present, and you're just super engaged. It's like a different feel. Whether when you're just watching from the sidelines, it's like, oh, ooh, don't miss your serve, but like you do, it's stressful, and you get like, it's definitely a roller coaster. And I think that's why a lot of people or fans gravitate to our sport. It's very up and down.
Yeah, very
It
much
can
so.
be stressful.
Yeah. Well, you
So
mentioned the team is so much bigger on indoor, but I was curious your thoughts on the differences between indoor and beach volleyball. Like you mentioned maybe like the toll on your body or like what are some of the big differences the casual, volleyball watcher wouldn't know.
well, I mean, the first thing that obviously it's kind of a given, it's just the surface is different. Like sand, it's a little more giving on your knees and your body versus like indoor. It's like over time, the wear and tear, the pounding on your knees, it just takes a toll. But I think if you do proper recovery and you are treating your body and eating well, getting enough sleep, and doing all that recovery stuff for indoor and beach, I think I mean, athletes do it all the time. You see professional athletes play indoors, so I think there is a method to that. I just think for me and my journey, it just kind of got to a point where my body was just kind of breaking down. I wasn't really seeing myself climb that, pyramid of making it at the top or the next level with indoor. And then beach at the time, it was starting to become like a Division 1 sport. Like I just missed the wave after college, and I was always been curious what that would be like playing professionally. So I was overseas playing in Switzerland, and I just was like, I want to give this a go. So I left my team and put myself on the beach and have been figuring it out ever since.
That's awesome. So yeah, I
Yeah.
did see that you played in Switzerland, but that was with indoor.
Yeah. So I was in Switzerland that was my pro team. I was in a little town called Schaffhausen. So it was a little north of Zurich. Love Switzerland. Great country. I definitely want to go back. But I just think at that time, I think indoor just kind of was coming to an end.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, kept fighting through it. I'm like, I can push. And then at one point I just was like, I need to listen to my body. Like I need to close this door. But then I opened a new one with beach. So just starting a new chapter. So that was tough, but I'm glad I did it.
Yeah. Well, the FIVB, that's the international tour you said. Have you been able to
Right.
travel and like play in some pretty awesome places through that?
Yeah, so I've been on, I would say, so the FIVB, it's a little trickier because there's a lot of USA teams that are in the running, and they only allow certain countries into tournaments. Like you have like a max, so like 4 can only go in. So it's based on a star system. But anyways, I'm kind of on the low totem pole of the rankings of our top USA teams. So like April and Alex are 1.
Mhm.
And then after that, we have like Sponsel Clays, Stockton Larson, a bunch of other athletes. But I would say I'm top 10. But I have to go to like the lower tier tournaments, like a 2-star and 3-star type tournaments. So, but yeah, I haven't been as consistent in that playing because it's so hard to get into those tournaments, and you have to fly all the way across the world on your own dime. So it's definitely challenging to get into those tournaments, but when I do get an opportunity, like I'm going to take it. So I would say the last tournament that I played was actually this February, right before Corona.
Uh-huh.
So we went to Cambodia, my partner, Therese Cannon. We went to Cambodia for a 2-star, and we took second. So that was my first FIVB medal. So
Awesome.
that was pretty cool. That was
Yeah, congrats.
it's kind of a big deal to win. If you can win on the FIVB, that's where you want to be for sure. I mean, that's your kind of ticket to get to the Olympics, and the highest level is played.
Right.
It's gnarly. So
Do
that's
you
the
get to like
goal.
travel while you're there too? I mean, like and sightsee some, or is it like strictly business in and out?
We did some sightseeing. I mean, I've done it in the past where it's strictly business, like no fun, and I don't recommend it.
Yeah.
But we treat it as a business trip, but then if we have a day off, or, if we decide to have it, like if we have a day off or if we stay an extra day,
Mhm.
we go sightsee and, go submerge ourselves in that culture, because why not? Like you're that far away from home, and I'm not just going to sit in my hotel room and watch Netflix. Like I want to go see what the culture's like. And so we definitely did that. We got to see some cool pyramids, eat some food. We met some people. It was super fun. I
Awesome.
try and I try and get outside the comfort zone and go put myself in, the culture.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's
Really
cool.
cool.
Yeah,
Well, and I
that's
know
cool.
that in beach volleyball, it is so important that partnership and that relationship. I'm curious if you
Yeah,
could tell us a little bit about, yeah, like what's that like? And, I think some people stay together for forever and then some people are changing all
right.
the time. I feel like that's so unique, other than in like doubles tennis, I guess, of having
Right.
to find one other person to compete with.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of our sport is like you don't have to be with someone like your whole career. I think a lot of people it makes it easier for sure if you stay with, a teammate or someone that you find that you gel well with, because if you play in tournaments over time, your points match up, seeding's great, you can qualify for the Olympics that way. If you're kind of jumping all around, it's just kind of inconsistent as far as where you fall in the rankings. But I think a partnership, it's tricky. I'm still learning a lot. I think it's just having really good, open, clear, honest communication. And if you can be great in that area, then any partnership that you are in, it should be pretty smooth. But I mean, I've kind of learned, just learning to be that, like learning to be honest and having hard conversations. It's tough, but over time, you kind of gain experience. You kind of, put things out on the table. You don't take it as emotional. I think that's another key thing, especially with being a beach partnerships. Like, you don't want to burn bridges. You want to just be like super open, honest, but then like take the emotion out of it, because if I break up with someone, like eventually later, like and if it ends bad, like they're eventually like, it's like a cycle. Like I could end up with them later down the road, given like injury or, other scenarios that happen. So you want to like keep the air, somewhat clear. But again, if you're in a partnership where it's like toxic and it's not working and you're not getting good finishes, then that's where you like need to like come together, reevaluate your partnership, and then go explore other options. So it's hard. It's like dating.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it. And like, yeah,
So
swiping like, oh, these strengths, these, is it more geographically based or strength based? Like, what does it come
I
down
mean, geographically, yes, but I've seen teams or partners make it work where like some are in Florida or the Midwest and others are mainly in California. So there's some distance, but most AVP and FIVB athletes, they're located in SoCal, so Hermosa, Manhattan Beach. We all train here. It's just easier for us because, like, let's say your partner's hurt or sick one day and you need a replacement, like easy. You can text someone, call nearby, and they can come in and sub for practice. Or, if you get dumped, you can find someone there, or just like coaching, resources, everything's pretty much in the hub of Hermosa, the South Bay. But I mean, there's a great community out in Florida, the Midwest. Like Tim Baumgren has a pretty solid crew out there. San Diego, where I'm from, they have a pretty good community. I mean, there's communities everywhere, like Austin, Texas. So that's the beauty too. Like, you don't have to come to California. Like, it used to be like that.
Okay.
And now it's kind of expanding into like other, states and communities. So, which is great for our sport. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. No, more exposure,
yeah.
more younger kids seeing it out and about so they can grow into it.
Yeah, totally. So it's great. I mean, I'm a little biased just because I'm from San Diego. So then I just moved up north a little bit. So, um, but yeah, I love it up here. I mean, I'm here for volleyball, and this is like the place to be for me. So that's kind of like my decision and where my journey has led me to be here. So
Yeah, very cool. And
yeah.
I'm sorry, these are I'm learning so much. And that's part of why I love
Oh,
this.
you're good.
I get to learn so much. The last like logistical question, I guess, but as far as like coaching, is it kind of like MMA gyms where like there are a bunch of different athletes training and like representing this one like team, or how does that even work? Do you guys all share a coach or?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think if you're in the USA pipeline, there are resources there, but I think like for most, you are kind of on your own and you kind of have to like support and fund your own way. And eventually when you climb the ranks, you land sponsorships, and then it's a little easier to kind of like put your squad together. I call them like little mini pods. Everyone has like you and your partner and then like a coach. But paying a coach, it is expensive. But I think it is worth it if this is like the career path that you want to go down. Just because it's nice to have a set of eyes, someone to run you through practice, give you input. But I mean, we'll organize, like some of the players will organize like Queen of the Court or like a workup just for like fun. And because now the King of the Court, which is like another style of beach volleyball that has been introduced, we've been trying to implement that a little bit now. So you don't really need coaches for that, but
Okay, cool.
it's definitely a culture where you kind of have to figure it out. But I think if you ask other athletes and ask for insight, I mean, they can help guide you. I think for me, like my journey, it was I kind of just put myself on the beach and was trying to figure out, but I think I did a good job of like reaching out to others and kind of just making connections and just kind of like learning the system a little bit. It takes time, like in any job that we do, whether you're working sales or real estate, but it just, things take time. It doesn't happen overnight. Cause like you said, beach volleyball, it's hard. Like I've only been playing the sport for 5 years and there's still so much to learn.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, but yeah, it's fun.
But
It's
that's
like a big
incredible.
jigsaw.
I've only been
Yeah.
playing for 5 years, and the success you've had, I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I just think that's so cool, and it's a lot of hard work. And is it a lot of camaraderie between players and like different matchups, or is it kind of cutthroat?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think there's certain rivals between certain teams and, you know, but I think for the most part, we're all pretty like genuine people. Like we understand, like we're out here working hard. Like we want to like beat each other out and, earn rankings and, beat each other out for money or whatnot. But I think what it all comes down to, it's like we're all out here trying to like make this beach volleyball grow.
Yeah,
And that's kind of like the main, I think is like our goal to like put volleyball on the map. Like
that's
I
awesome.
think hopefully that's the goal, to like, whether that's getting it on Sports Center or on TV, but I think we just want to continue to grow the best that we can. And I think I hope it does for sure. But I would say there's a good camaraderie in our sport. Nothing too intense, but that's the beauty of it. It's fun.
Yeah, and as far as like men's versus women's, like, is there good like kind of gender equity across the board, or like is there still?
Oh yeah.
Oh, good.
It's definitely equal. Like, yeah, the pay, that's the beauty of with beach. It's like the rankings and the payout, it's the same as it is in the men's and the women's. It's pretty even there. Um, where for like certain, I think we mesh pretty well as like both the men and the women athletes when we're at tournaments. We chat in the player tent in between matches. Cause I think that was another thing too in the AVP Cup series. We didn't have fans.
Hmm.
So it was just us athletes there sitting, hanging out. And it's like, it was kind of cool to see us connect with certain athletes that we may not have had the chance to in the past, because it's like we have to go, sign autographs or be with, our sponsors or whatnot. So it was kind of nice to be in like closed doors with like certain athletes and kind of, get to know some people. Like for me, like I got to chat with David Lee, and he's a really cool guy, and his story, like, he came from, indoor straight to beach and kind of similar experiences. So it was nice to like talk to him and just a couple others. Like, it's a fun. It's like I consider the AVP, like the athletes, like we're all like one big family. So
That's
I
awesome.
love everyone. They're super fun.
Yeah, well, it's so cool. I mean, like you said, it's equal billing on the social media,
Yeah.
like in the Amazon Prime. I mean, that deal is so great to be able to
Yeah.
watch it all, and still on replay. I didn't realize that, so we'll definitely put links.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's on replay. So you can
Yeah,
go check it out. Even matches from last year too, like the 2019 season, they are up there for
awesome,
sure.
awesome.
Yeah.
But what would you say is like your favorite memory of either playing
Oh.
sports or watching? Like just like when you think back and you're like, oh yeah, that was just like a cool sports moment.
Oh. There's too many. I have like, there's not one sports moment for me. I think there's multiple, and it just like, I'm very passionate about our sport. I just love volleyball so much, and it's just like the littlest things. Like, I mean, I got to play with April Ross back in 2016, so that was a really great experience. I mean, we didn't finish great, but I mean, we were top 10, but still, it was like such like to play with April Ross. She's she's the best. And I learned a lot from her. Um, I would say my first real third on the AVP was super fun. And then taking third in Manhattan, which is like the most prestigious
Yeah.
tournament, I think, in beach volleyball. So that was pretty cool. Actually, yeah, I think Manhattan Beach Open, when we played April and Alex on stadium court, packed, I think it was just so surreal to be on like the biggest stage. And I've said it in like posts before, but I think to me, it was just like, there was a moment where I like stopped and just looked around, and it was like so cool to see just like the amount of people watching. I mean, they weren't cheering, but it was like people were watching us. I was like, there may be more here for April and Alex. I'm like, they were here to watch. Like, it was super cool. Yeah. And then I would say my first medal on the FIVB tour was pretty sick.
Awesome.
So I guess there's a bunch. And then like even the national championship in 2011 with UCLA Bruins, I think we'll always have that for sure. And that was a good bond with those girls. Yeah, because we didn't have a great season leading up to it, like to the playoffs, but then somehow we just rocked it. It was super fun.
Those
So, yeah.
are some of the best teams to watch. It's just like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
they keep going, they're clicking, you know, that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think like for me, there's a lot of moments of volleyball that I find joy in. There's not like one defining moment. I think, yeah, there's a bunch. And I think that's like I guess my big victory, that I can have multiple.
Yeah, for
I don't
sure.
know. Yeah. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, just a couple more questions for you. What's like the best part of being a professional athlete, and what's the hardest part?
Ooh, the best part is like you're always in shape year round.
There you go.
And you can eat whatever you want because you're like burning so many calories in the sand and with our lifts. So that's a plus. Ooh, the hardest part. Oh, that's a good question. Putting me on the spot. I think it's just learning. I think I struggled with this. It was like learning how to like schedule, like learning to like find your routine of a consistent schedule.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of uncertainty sometimes and things happen, but like it can be it's not that it's inconsistent, but if when I first started out, it was like super inconsistent. Like, this is super annoying. Like, I need structure. So I think over time I've developed a better system. So yeah, sometimes you got to roll with the punches too. Like the uncertainty, like things happen on any given day. It's like, well, we're not practicing today. We got, canceled on. So we're going to go to the gym. So
yeah,
I think, yeah, that's the hard part. So
well, I think too, like the sport being more individual than team based. I mean,
yeah,
but that does kind of fall more on you, the athlete, versus like a
right.
general manager of a team kind of thing. So
yeah, and I think another hard part too, it's like you're out here on not your own, but it's like you're very individualized, and it can get to a point where you're on an island and you don't know what you're doing. But like once you kind of find a system, or you land the right teammate or a partner, then like things start to get into place. But finding that, it's really difficult. It's hard. I mean, I think what Carrie and Misty had back in the day, it was unreal to see and like witness, and I got to watch as a little kid. And I think now it's just different. I think the game is changing, and it's just, there's a lot of good talent out there. And I think, yeah, it's interesting.
yeah, well, I'm curious, as a kid and like as growing up, volleyball or not, like were there athletes that you really looked up to and like inspired you?
Yeah, so I mean, I was a big fan of watching Carrie and Misty for sure, and then I was a fan of Elaine Youngs, Holly McPeak, Jenny Johnson Jordan, like Rachel Walkholder. Like I liked all the throwback players, like even like Liz Massakayan, like Nancy Areno, Linda Hanley, Barb Fontana. Like to go back and watch some of the old not the old clips, but like back in like the early 90s or 80s, and how they did it on a big court. It just blows my brain. Like those women were the pioneers of our sport. It's like, well, look what they did and the ground that they covered. It was gnarly. And then like one of my, and like Lori Forsythe, who's like kind of a mentor to me. So she's been great. Sorry, shout out to Lori. Yeah, I kind of look at all the throwbacks because my mom played. And then, yeah, she was kind of on the circuit a little bit, but I think she was around those athletes, so I was kind of exposed to like the Liz Massakayans and the Nancy Renos and all those type of players. So it was kind of cool to see them. And then I remember like every Sunday, my mom and I would watch like on FSN. Like we didn't have TiVo or we couldn't record because it wasn't a thing yet, and we would like watch the final. So it was always Carrie and Misty, and then whoever they went up against, like who knows? Yeah, I would root. I would just root for like good volleyball.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, I want this final to be epic.
That's awesome. That is
Which they all were, so it was super cool.
Yeah. Well, what do you hope for like the next 5 years? Like, what do you hope happens with beach volleyball, indoor volleyball, any of it? Like, what are your hopes for its continued growth?
Well, I just hope the health and safety that we can have a season next year going into 2021, like we get through this pandemic. So I hope we can have like a full season, both international and on the AVP. And then I just hope for those that are aspiring to continue the sport or play the sport, like you don't have to you can pick it up anywhere. And you can always reach out to athletes or any one of us. I mean, I think we're pretty open and genuine people, and we want to help build the next generation. And I think that's something that we need to continue to do to grow as like active players on the tour, and some of the veterans, like we need to continue that legacy of building up our sport as best that we can, because I do think that our sport could be, it could be on TV, it could evolve versus just being on the Olympics every 4 years. Because we know that like a lot of fans love it. It's just how can we get through that wall of putting it out there even more to expose it. So, and continue to play and ask questions and reach out. So yeah, it's on everyone. It's not just the fans. It's the athletes. It's our tours. It's both our AVP and FIVB. So it takes a village. So yeah, it's doing stuff like this, like putting it out there on the map, exposure for sure.
Yeah, so. Love it. I love it. Well, yeah. So where could people reach out? Where can people find you? Anything you want to plug or promo here?
I would say, I mean, my social media accounts, Twitter and Instagram, Kelly Reeves 02. I haven't been as active on social media because I'm trying to do a better job of like staying off the phone, but I go on like for like 40 minutes a day, but I do check. So yeah, social media is obviously a good place to find me. So I'm pretty responsive. I get back to mostly everyone. Depends, but yeah. Twitter, and I would say, I mean, I'm more active on Instagram than Twitter.
Awesome.
So
we'll definitely put the link in the show notes. And just thanks again so much for joining. It was so great to chat. Sorry, I kind of made you give me a little tutorial here and there, but it's just
it's okay. I think that's totally fine.
Yeah, it's neat to learn more about it. And yeah, we're big fans of the tour. We were trying to promo it out as y'all were having the shortened season this year, but really excited for 2021. So
I think you're welcome. Thanks for having me. I had so much fun.
Yeah. All right, great. Cool. We'll see you soon.
Sounds good.